Gunanandana Rajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sakacharya, also Torta to Shri Śrimad, Nitya Leela, Pravishna Om, His Divine Grace, Srila Abhaya Charanaravinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, ISKCON's BBD founder Acharya, Guru Bhatita Bhavana, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Vandaraja Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarine. Obeisances to you, O spiritual master, O servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are so kindly preaching the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev and are delivering these Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, Text 29. Taijasat, 2, Vikurvanad, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Buddhi Tattvam Abhut Sati Javya Spurana Vijnanam Indriyanam Anugraha Taijasatu Vikurvanad Buddhi Tattvam Abhut Sati Dravya Spurana Vijnanam Indriyanam Anugraha Taijasatu Vikurvanad Buddhi Tattvam Abhutsati Dravya Spurana Vijnanam Indriyanam Anugraha Taijasatu Vikurvanad Buddhi Tattvam Abhutsati Dravya Spurana Vijnanam Indriyanam Anugraha Mataji's. Taijasat, from the false ego, in passion. 2, then, Vikurvanat, undergoing transformation. Buddhi, intelligence. Tattvam, principle. Abhut, took birth. Sati, O virtuous lady. Dravya, objects. Spurana, coming into view. Vijnanam, ascertaining. Indriyanam, to the senses. Anugraha, giving assistance. By transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view, and to help the senses. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object, and it helps the senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the matter of the senses. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. By the proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded. And the ultimate expansion of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Metam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadanti Tam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utabharakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Dibiyat Brindaranya Kalpajumada Śrimad Ratnagara Singhasanastho Śrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prastalavi Savyamano Smarami Taijasatu Vikurvanad Buddhi Tattvam Abhutsati Dravya Smarana Vijnanam Indriyanam Anugraha. By transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth, O virtuous lady. The functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view and to help the senses. So, fundamental principles of material nature, description of how the spirit soul comes in contact with material nature and is endowed with the constituents or parts of the material embodiment and how they work. We are known as Jivanamsa, as Jiva Tattva. We are described as marginal. That means that we can either be situated in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. Krishna and his expansions, all of his Vishnu Tattva, they are infallible. They never fall down. They cannot be influenced or lured or in any way susceptible to be anything less than their position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is always a good argument to keep in mind when some foolish rascal tries to present themselves that they're God. We're all God. Really? If you're God, then why are you in a position of being forced to get old, forced to get disease, and you are forced to die? Because God never gets old, God never gets disease, and God never dies. So how are you God, rascal? By transformation of the false ego in passion. So activity is needed to be performed in the material world, The soul is always active. So instead of being active spiritually for the pleasure directly of Krishna, one is the bewildered spirit soul, thinking himself the doer of activity. He thinks himself the doer, but these things are actually impelled and functioned by the material nature. I am this body. This is mine. I am the owner. I am controller. But this is the nature of material placement. All right. You choose not to be in your natural and correct position of being under the jurisdiction of the spiritual energy. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. Those who are not deluded, the great souls, they are under the protection of my divine energy, daivi prakriti. So then this is how you come under the control of the external energy. Internal, external. Transformation of the false ego and passion. Intelligence takes birth. So intelligence is supposed to be the matter of the senses. So we see in the picture, the painting, where the soul is simply the passenger in the chariot, which is the body, which is made up of the senses, the horses, the mind, are the reins with which to control the senses. And reins, they're just a functional thing. They don't have the mind does not have a mind of its own. The mind has to be controlled by the driver, the intelligence. One has to control the mind. And what is it? For one who has controlled his mind, the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Just like in the painting, the driver intelligence is depicted as blind. They don't know where they're looking, they don't know where they're going. In describing the divine and demoniac, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes how the demoniac, they have no intelligence, and all their endeavors are striving always in the wrong direction. And the primary symptom of their activities is completely the opposite of the activities of the pure devotees. We glorify the spiritual master of such status as Lokanath Goswami, of whom Sri Guru Vandana was written about. You are an ocean of mercy. His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, completely representing the munificence of the golden avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, not taking into account the unlimited offenses and quite horrible offenses in Kali Yuga. You know, if someone committed an offense in Dwapara Yuga or Treta Yuga, it's nothing compared to the amount of offenses that one will commit in one's lifetime, and in what a very short lifetime, 100 years compared to 1,000 years or 10,000 years. So we see how strictly offenses were considered in previous yugas, and their reactions were swift and severe. But in Kali Yuga, such concession is given that even you can think and meditate on the most heinous things, but as long as you don't enact them or act upon them, you don't get the reaction. Of course, thinking leads to feeling, leads to willing, to the point where one must act on these things. One has no choice because one has let one's mind to go completely uncontrolled for so long and the snowball effect, more or less, you are helpless to go forth with your plan. The perfection of intelligence is attained when one becomes fixed in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So that is no small statement. This is a very nice, small, sutra-like sentence to give us a insight and codified, concentrated, time-released tablet of the entire range of advancement in Krishna consciousness, ultimately as described from very beginning states of faith, Shraddha, all the way up to purified love of Godhead, Prema. A little look at the 42nd verse of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the second to last verse of the chapter, Karma Yoga. Indriyani paranyahur, indriyebhya param mana, manastu para buddhir, yo buddhe paratastu sa. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So this is a nice statement which Srila Prabhupada had in mind when he instructed his artists. I believe Bharadwaj was the one who painted this painting, to illustrate this. Working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So as described in today's verse, the transformation of false ego in passion. The senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. So the first business of one approaching the threshold of bhakti, as Prabhupada described in one place, beginning Krishna consciousness, is to control one's lust or material desires by engaging one's senses and mind directly in the activities of Krishna consciousness. And the understanding and amazing encouragement is that even right from that very first step, those first steps, the beginning start, one is transcendental. As long as one is in the boat of transcendental knowledge, situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, even if one is the greatest sinner of sinners, he will reach the opposite shore as long as he stays in the boat. So the senses become purified ultimately, and then one's actions are free from implication in the material nature. And the danger of being susceptible to going back to that position. Everyone is born with a certain psychophysical nature, and if one, by whatever ill luck or misfortune or improper or misuse of one's intelligence, one stops or slows down one's Krishna consciousness, then proportionately the modes of material nature that one was previously situated in will again attract one, and one will again become what they were before, or as Srila Prabhupada would say graphically, as he had heard this example from his spiritual master, again become a mouse. Prabhupada said in one place, we should always remember what we were before and understand the amazing opportunity that we've been given, and we should be very careful not to fall from this most exalted status of life. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions as described here ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily functions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence. And above the intelligence is the soul proper. If, therefore, the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will automatically be engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of senses are superior to the senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If, therefore, the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged other ways. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very, very, among other things, I'll say this specifically, determined to expand expand the association of devotees all over the world so people could take their association, because association with devotees means engagement in the service of Krishna and shutting the door tight on engagement in the service of Maya. When Srila Prabhupada began the movement in particular, a question was asked throughout, especially after the push for distributing books, doubling and redoubling. Srila Prabhupada, what will please you the most? And towards the latter part of Srila Prabhupada's stay with us, that became, quote unquote, a loaded question. We even have a book, If You Want to Please Me, which is all filled with quotes about the importance of book distribution. But Srila Prabhupada, understanding the nature of the loaded question, I'm going to trap Srila Prabhupada into saying what we want to hear him say, and then we could, aha, Srila Prabhupada would say, if you love Krishna, which is true for everyone, no matter what their service, what their inclination, or what their specific, ultimate, individual relationship with Krishna is in perfection. But in the very, very beginning, you heard the story of, and there's even like in one of the early black and white videos of Srila Prabhupada sitting in his apartment room 2C in the rear court building of 26 2nd Avenue with a little globe with push pins. And you see the back of the shaved head of previously championship wrestler Brahmananda Govinda Dasi. We were just a handful of teenagers, and only like 18 or 20 of us. And Srila Prabhupada was saying, such and such, you will go to China, such and such, you will go to Russia. And we all were just laughing that this is just, and then Brahmananda was saying that when Prabhupada went to San Francisco, I was shocked that he was leaving. I thought that this was it on the Lower East Side, and it wouldn't go anywhere else, because who else except Lower East Side people could understand Krishna consciousness, and it would stay here forever. So Prabhupada would say, who would ever open a center will very much please me. And Prabhupada would say, for devotees who went to, at great risk to questionable places, questionable in that, what would the reaction be? Would there be any danger? Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. That Lord Chaitanya will personally come down from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, and take you by the hand back home, back to Godhead. So, there is no chance that the senses will be engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained in the second chapter, Param Dristva Nivartante. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of it being engaged in lower propensities. By experiencing a higher taste, one is fixed in Krishna consciousness. The Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. One angle of vision given to us is that one should not be envious of oneself. Actually, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, directly told Durvasa Muni, by making this offense against Maharaj Ambarish, you have acted in self-envy. One who makes offense to others, what to speak of devotees, it's a boomerang. Actually, you think you are harming or impeding or, the other person, but you're actually harming yourself. Therefore, if you want peace, you must go to Durvasa Muni immediately, without delay, and beg his forgiveness. And if he forgives you, then and only then will there be peace for you. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage in the mind, always in Krishna consciousness. He says it again. This solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. So immediately, I remember I was brought up in the suburbs. My parents met and married here in New York City and moved as World War II victorious veterans in the 1950s to the expanded economic luxury of the suburbs. And so it was a very sheltered situation out there. So I come and I join the temple in Hell's Kitchen right off Midtown Manhattan in the Times Square Theater District. And after a 3-week bhakti program, there I am. I'm out on the street, it's like 19 years old, and my gosh, So the neophyte spiritualist is advised to stay aloof from the objects of allurement. But this spiritual practice is throwing us like right into the mosh pit, so to speak. How is that? That we will get to in just a little bit. We'll answer our own poised question. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger, and even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, and the senses also still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna and Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. So, the importance of proper use of intelligence is a very important topic throughout Srila Prabhupada's books. And we're going to look at one now, also from Bhagavad Gita, that Srila Prabhupada recommended very, very much, and that recommendation was based upon how striking this particular Vedic reference was to him in his own life, how it transformed him, and by his personal experience and realization of applying what this verse said, he felt very, very confident that recommending it to all of his disciples especially will also assure they achieve the same level of faith, conviction, and ability to vigorously engage their senses, mind, intelligence, everything, to the point of giving everything that they possibly can. Or Srila Prabhupada, his last words here in New York, coming down the elevator in 55th Street, and soon we will have an elevator here, at least for us old-timers to use, before being driven to the airport to go to his next destination, which was London, that I have taken the benediction from Krishna, like Arjuna, to keep on fighting till the very end. And that verse is Vyasyatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kurunandana Bahu Shaka Hyanantascha Buddhayo Vyasahina, Bhagavad Gita 241. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the crews, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. What does Shukadeva Goswami say upon their meeting, which makes up the very beginning of the second canto? Those who are blind to Atma Tattva have many, many subject matters for hearing and being absorbed in human society, O Emperor. So they came out with this thing, rehashing some near 40-year-old deviations in the Hare Krishna movement, which happened about 400 miles west of here, on a channel called Peacock, which is like a cable news or streaming, I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay. And, like 40 years ago or 35 years ago, there was only like 8 or 10 channels. And now how many channels, cable, streaming, internet, this and that, like 10,000? So not one person came up to me, or anything, zero, nothing, So there's just so many subject matters. There's so many, you can go here, you can go there, you can go here, Great devotees, they complain that 24 hours in a day to do devotional service is not enough. We described how Srila Prabhupada woke Guru Kripa Maharaj, who was one of his leading men, in the middle of the night. Said, "Why are you sleeping?" Well, Srila Prabhupada, I just worked 18 hours. I'm tired. 18 hours. Our process is 24 hours. But that was their rasa, and then Srila Prabhupada saw that he'd okay, go to bed. Very good boy, So they don't have 24, they need more than 24 hours to engage in all the various topics and that they want to get into. So who's crazy? Us or them? You guys just chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's all you do? I mean, they just can't understand. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyasyatmika, which is translated here, resolute in Krishna consciousness. Vyasyatmika buddhi, intelligence. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22, that's Lord Chaitanya's teachings too, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Shraddha Sabde Vishvasa Kahe Surida Nischaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Krita Vaya. Faith means unflinching trust in something, and your life will be sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane. One striking realization that many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples have had, and being interviewed at different times in different places, they're saying the same thing. You know, I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and I was listening to his lectures, and I was a bhakta, and then I got initiated, and I saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time after 1 year, and I realized, you know, that Srila Prabhupada is non-different than his books. You know, we meet, you know, famous people, you know, they hire a publicist, you know, to put forward their public image, so they're hiding their private life away. There was the memoir of Suradas. He's passed away now, Hare Krishna. And he was in university, and he was very unimpressed with his professors because he saw that their private life was just, they were just like debauchee and scandalous personalities. And here they are espousing knowledge and philosophy, and he's supposed to learn from them. He was very disillusioned. But Srila Prabhupada, his entire life, he had no private life. His public life and private life were exactly the same. All of one's activities are on the absolute plane. They are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva, Krishna, is the root of all manifested causes. Watering the root of the tree, everything is nourished. The highest service to everyone, namely oneself. This is why devotees go out, and this is why our immediate sadhana, even for the brand new bhakta, is to go out and distribute Krishna consciousness. Because this is the best thing you can do for yourself, is to administer to others. That is actually the activity of the pure devotee. And also in the third chapter, Krishna is setting the stage by his instructions to actually show the greatness of his devotees. Krishna is pleased when his devotees override or seemingly disregard his instructions, seeming instructions, to actually do something which is more what Krishna wants. The ignorant perform activities because their intelligence is impure, and become attached due to their lack of knowledge. The wise are advised not to unsettle them and thereby waste valuable time. The Prabhupada says, the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks to approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts. By acting in Krishna consciousness, the intelligence is purified. Eat a cookie, shake a maraca, do a dance step. Can you say Hare Krishna? Which are absolutely necessary for the human being. Take a pamphlet, touch the pamphlet. Or people walking by won't do anything, I'll just point to the devotees and they have to look. Look at this, look at that, well, look over here. Okay, so for 1.5 seconds, they're looking at 25 or 30 devotees having an ecstatic kirtan. It's the perfection of their life. Don't think, just do. You can't think properly, then we will have you do something proper. And then you'll be able to think properly. Man, you guys have been out here for so many years. What the heck is this all about? I never thought you'd ask. Namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. So, service is best done under the guidance of bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him or her to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Jayananda Prabhu, the original Jayananda, who was born in 1936, so therefore when he joined he was already 31 years old in 1967. That made him like between like 8 and 12 years older than all the God brothers and God sisters. And he had like an engineering degree at Ohio State University at Dipron, and because he's from Ohio State. And he was the only responsible person driving a taxi to support the temple. Everybody else was a hippie. And his statement, he had met so many people, and he wasn't a hippie, he was considered to be like a straight person. And his remark was very simply, I simply wanted to serve Srila Prabhupada because I knew he didn't want to cheat me. And that personality was completely free from the propensity to criticize others, which also means to like critique or pigeonhole other people. So you can think, well, I'm better, or, I can neglect this person. Being completely free from the propensity to criticize others means you can only be on that platform if you're always thinking and practically acting for their highest interest. That is the Mahabhagavat. And such a person is fit to accept disciples from all over the universe. I only wanted to serve him because I knew he didn't want to cheat me. Anything less than Narada, handing over the Supreme Personality of Godhead to another like a commodity is cheating. Our so-called friends, who we just engage in whatever temporary material activities, they're cheating us, and we're cheating them. One should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically, but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. So right from the start, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, you are an intelligent young man. Why don't you preach Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world? Immediately. This is who you are. This is what you should do. So Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the Society of Devotees, or vehicle for devotees of the Lord, are realists. They are paramahamsas. They are essence seekers. That is the definition of a devotee. And there are so many such persons lying in wait outside the doors of this temple all over the world, waiting to receive this message. So we're driven like first responder, rescue workers, firemen, to save everyone from the burning building, to get them out in time. Samsara dava nalalita loka chanaya karanagananganasam. That is the mission of all bona fide spiritual masters and saintly devotees, of whom Srila Prabhupada is the premier trailblazer. Anyone who wants to preach pure Krishna consciousness all over the world must bow down and take the dust of the feet of Srila Prabhupada, because he is the trailblazer. He has opened up that porthole, that he has made it applicable to everyone. Before that, Krishna consciousness was only known, if at all, in the holy dhams of Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, a few other places, and no other places. Now, all over the world. So attach yourself to the mission of Srila Prabhupada and give your all in whatever way you possibly can, and your intelligence will be purified, and you will be situated on the platform of your eternal self, and you will go back home, back to Godhead, where life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, where we all belong. Taijasatu vikurvanad, buddhi tattvam abhutsati, Javya sporna vijnanam indriyanam anugraha. By transformation of the false ego and passion, intelligence takes birth, O virtuous lady. The functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view, and to help the senses. So I brought it right to the 9 o'clock mark, and I consider myself, give myself a pat on the back for not going over time. So, should I ask for a question, or should I just say Om Tat Sat? Thanks a lot. What? Huh? Okay, so that means the class is over? Thank you very much. Shishi Radha Govinda Ki Jai.